Hi everyone, this is Elena with Glass Factory. We are here, day 2, Seismic Dance event in Austin, Texas with JOPLYN. Hello.
Hey, what's up? Can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah, so excited. Your set was sick, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I love the fact that you sing in your set.
Thank you so much. Not a lot of people in electronic music do it.
Yeah, and particularly when you're thinking we're house and techno, I feel like indie-tronica is very much people sing during the set, but not in this kind of music.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So can you talk about kind of your musical background and why you started incorporating singing?
I did officially start through poetry. Cool. When I was 5, 6, 7-ish. I remember we learned about it in German class, and I just got super into writing my own little short poems. And then at some point, because being Asian, my parents forced me into piano lessons at 5 years old. Super grateful that they did that. But at some point, I was playing classical piano, and then I kind of got the idea to combine the two worlds of the poetry, the short poems I was writing, and piano that I was playing. And I kind of learned on YouTube, actually, chords, and taught myself how to accompany myself on the piano, because what I'd been learning was, Mozart. I wasn't interested in becoming a pianist. I just wanted to use it as a tool for my music. At that point, I was, writing very abstract poetry, ballads, I guess, at the piano. But then I got into song structure and kind of learned the whole A, B, C, B things. And then the electronic music came probably when I was 12 or 11.
Wow.
I think growing up in Berlin, people, you start young, you hear it pumping from every corner of the city. So I was just super inspired to incorporate that into the music I was making. And it all started when I found GarageBand on my computer, and I started to, produce myself a little bit, got into that. And that's where I still am. I'm still on the journey of finding my sound. I started super young. Never in school. I was always making music, as you should. Just kidding.
This was your first time in Austin, right, playing Seismic. What do you think about the Austin scene, given that you're coming from Berlin?
I don't really know the scene. I think I've been here 3 hours or something. It's so interesting for me to compare how European audiences versus American audiences react to the different songs. In Europe, the clubbier stuff, people react to it more, whereas in America, people are if it's more song driven, if there's more vocals, they'll react to it more. I'm trying to walk the line between, giving both what they want. But I think overall here, there's so much enthusiasm, so much energy, and so much passion, I think, for music. And I love that people are very open about it and not afraid to show it. Because I feel like in Berlin especially, but Europe maybe in general, people are always very cool. So they're never going to show you if they actually dig something. They'll be standing there okay, judging you, looking you up and down. But here people are just going crazy, letting loose. They're, really letting everyone be part of the euphoria listening to the music. And I love that about playing here.
Between the LA crowd and the Austin crowd, were there any differences that you noticed? And I know it might be a little different if you're playing a show versus a festival. But were there any differences that you noticed between the crowds?
I played at Sound in LA, so a club. And obviously in a club, it's a lot more intimate. I just think because everything is so spread out here, obviously, because it's just a huge area. In LA, the energy felt a little more intense just because also you're closer to them. At a festival, you're so often so far away from the crowd. And that's actually a part that I prefer about being in intimate clubs, is just to really see them face to face. Both were super fun. I wouldn't say there's that big of a difference. I mean, it's music lovers dancing, and that's my favorite type of people.
What kind of inspiration do you draw from when you are thinking of how you're going to curate a set for a specific crowd?
For me, always two approaches. There's either you really go dynamic wise, you build it up, and then you peak, and then you leave. Or you kind of take the people more on a journey that's a little more less predictable. So you start with a soft one, maybe then you go harder, and then you dial it down again, and I don't know. I think it depends. For example, I did my first my first hard ticket headline show in Berlin the other day at Berghain, Cantina in Berghain, and for that show specifically, I wanted it to be feel it more like a concert, so I built it up like this.
Gotcha.
And I feel like that's nice because at some point, you have to catch the people and surprise them. And that's always a way to do it. But for this one, for example, I really just wanted to end on a high note, and I really built it up, slowly but surely. But I do always try to put in moments of silence. Club music especially lives if you from those moments where it's maybe just an a cappella loop and I sing on top of it and play around with some effects, and then when the kick hits, it's much more, you celebrate it much more than if it's just there the whole time.
Right, it's a lot more memorable when you can like find those moments that stand out to you in
exactly,
a set.
like those little pockets of spontaneity.
With your singing, I feel like you have a very more like ethereal voice, and then with your beats, like it's very like hard, rough, driving. So how do you mesh the two? That's
for me the most interesting and tricky thing to do because it is hard. But I think if you get it just right, which I'm not claiming that I know anything, but I feel like there is this magic that you can kind of get out of that, because I feel like any contrast, like they can sometimes go together very well, and then it's like even more elevated than if it were really strong vocals with a strong beat. So I experiment a lot. I work a lot with like vocal effects. I think that's a way to really incorporate your voice into the productions too, not just as like with the main melody lines, but actually have it be like an integral part, and maybe like also something that, I mean, my voice, no one else has access to it. So it's really truly an instrument that only I can use in this whole planet, and especially nowadays where it's so hard to do things that have never been done or to stand out. I really want to capitalize, off of that. The way I kind of combine the two worlds is just by layering the voice, with its fragility to make it in its, in the addition of all parts, stronger again than if it was just alone.
Right. And I think it like ties back to what you were saying with like finding those like special moments, is because there is so much of that like dynamic balance that like when people hear it and they're not expecting it, they're like, oh, that's actually really cool. Like I'm going to remember this set, I'm going to remember this moment, I'm going to remember whatever like euphoria I felt in that moment. So that's super cool.
Sure. Yeah, that's really what I want to do, is make people have unforgettable moments with me and celebrate the music, feel the love.
So I think that kind of leads into my next question, is like, 5 years from now, what do you envision JOPLYN being?
I just want to keep on, traveling the world, spreading the music. I love like going on different creative adventures. I just did like a whole animation project for my album. So just expressing myself in different ways. And then what's also for me personally very important is to kind of work towards integrating more women into the space of electronic music, because it's like, if you look at the numbers, it's crazy. I think it's like 20% of all artists are women, and 13% of all songwriters are women, and only 2% of all producers are women. So I'm really actively trying to change that. I do a lot of panels and workshops and everything with Ableton or Spotify or whoever, just to kind of make the whole mystical world of music production and music creation more accessible and kind of less intimidating, because I feel like that's the reason why there's not that many girls doing it. So I think in 5 years that's another big goal of mine, to kind of give those marginalized communities a platform. I just founded my own label, so that's like the goal with my label, to really help push other female, I mean, I don't have anything against a male artist either if the music is good, but just push other people that maybe don't get pushed that much compared to others.
I'm gonna kind of shift us to like more fun questions, but leading off of
that was already fun. Come on.
What is a city that you really want to perform in that you haven't performed in before?
Mexico City or Tokyo. Yes, I've never been to either Tokyo or Mexico City. I've heard so much about them from so many different people, and I just really want to see it for myself. So those are the two. And I mean, Burning Man doesn't count as a city, but obviously that's
right. Burning Man's like a bucket
Burning
list.
Man's Burning Man.
What is a piece of advice that you would give to women who are in spaces where they are marginalized and like don't have as much of a voice?
Be unapologetic. Like, no one's going to speak up for you if you don't do it yourself. So just be the loudest one in the room, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Shameless self-promotion. That's actually how I got my first Netflix sync, is just by sending my stuff around. Like, you really have to hustle twice as hard as any man, but if you put in the work, at some point people are going to notice. Like, they're bound to notice. And the second thing is just to stick together as women, because I feel like we're so often taught to see each other as competitors, and that drives us apart. And I think that's the most toxic thing, when other women bring each other down. So I think we're stronger together, so really lift each other up, make diversity a priority. At some point you can choose okay, I'm only going to play this festival if you do this, a 50-50 lineup, or I'm only going to be with this booking agency if the roster is somewhat, 50-50. So just make it a priority and be your own strongest advocate.
What is your favorite season?
Season.
Season.
That's like an interesting question. I love
What
garlic
is your
powder.
favorite seasoning?
I'm a garlic girl all the way. I'm kind of boring like that. But season. I mean, depends on where I'm at, right? In LA, it would be fall, but in Berlin, definitely summer.
I gotcha.
So just anything warm, but not too hot.
Gotcha.
I really don't care about anything else.
What are your favorite summer activities in Berlin?
Maybe like taking the train out to one of the many beautiful lakes that we have, and like renting a little boat and just chilling away on the lake. Because I do martial arts.
Nice.
It's just training outside. I think there's nothing more beautiful than just moving your body, getting outside in the sun.
Being out in nature.
Yes.
Listening to birds and frogs.
Exactly. I mean, in Berlin, it's more of like listening to some guy in the corner blasting techno music, but
Wow.
it's just as relaxing.
Are you a fan of pizza?
I love pizza.
Okay, great.
Of course.
What is your
Who
like
doesn't?
optimal topping?
I'm not really adventurous. Like I always get something different. Like I don't have one like go-to order. I like combine the weirdest like flavors.
Yeah.
So anything outside of the box, anything weird, I'll get it.
What's like the weirdest combination you've done?
I think pineapple on pizza isn't too bad.
Okay.
I did add some soy sauce, I think, at some point to that.
Okay.
Just to test it out. I feel like soy sauce makes everything better.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that great, but it also wasn't bad. And I don't know. I have to say I never did anything like sweet. I know there's people that try marshmallows on pizza.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little too extreme for me. But just I think my toxic trait is just that I like dump like ton amount of soy sauce on everything.
What's your comfort food? What's like your go-to like lazy meal at home? I feel like I know the answers to this, but I'm gonna
Anything with soy sauce, but tofu. I always have tofu stacked in my fridge. Then I have, because I'm Vietnamese, I'm half Vietnamese, so I make myself like little like salad rolls, like with the rice papers.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll put everything, like I'll make something and then I'll make little rice paper rolls with tofu and like some vegetables, some fresh salad and stuff.
Nice.
And then as a dessert, ice cream mochi. All the way.
What flavor?
I like a lot, but coconut's the best, I think. Or peanut butter. And not mochi, but like in general, peanut butter.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I don't think.
No, peanut butter. I mean, I think it would be kind of good. Anything peanut butter is awesome.
As long as it's like creamy peanut butter, not chunky. You don't want to like bite into mochi and like it be chunky, right?
It could be nice though, right? To have a little texture. in there.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm all for texture.
I mean, hey, if you ever try it, just let us know. Let us know how it turns out.
I actually like the character that I made for the animations. I gave it the acronym JOP, J-O-P.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was like, because I was asking around, like, does anyone have any, like, what do you guys think it stands for? And people were being, like, super philosophical, creative. They're like, yeah, it's Joker of poetry or whatever. And this one friend of mine, he was like, it just means joy of peanut butter because you just love peanut butter so much. And I'm like,
is that what it meant?
It kind of makes sense.
It kind of makes sense.
It does. Now it's just like an homage to peanut butter for me.
What are you most looking forward to when you get some downtime?
I mean, nowadays, just because it's so rare that I get into the studio, it's actually making music.
Nice.
Because it's just, I don't really get to do it that much anymore because I'm just always traveling, or like when I'm home, I'm like trying to rest and recover. So that for me has been like my perfect vacation because people, like my family, they're going on a family vacation. They were asking like, do you want to come? Blah blah. And I was like, actually, I would just much rather like prefer, locking myself into the studio if I'm not on that. Then I just like reading, putting on some good music, maybe writing something, maybe doing some yoga, like the typical basic girl things, but they're just good for the soul.
Whatever makes you feel good. Because I think like I was just having this conversation with somebody regarding like productivity and how people are like, oh, naps aren't productive. But I'm like, I don't know, if naps like recharge you, they kind of are productive.
Exactly. And I think especially with creative work, like it's not really linear. Like it's not the more work you put in, the better or more results you get.
Right.
It's actually if you're inspired in a moment and if you're in that zone, you can write a hit song in 5 minutes like Sia did. And so I think, like, for example, talking about naps or talking about just taking care of your body, taking care of your mind and your your mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, it's all
And
very
getting them
important.
inspired. That's actively working
Yep.
towards getting in the right zone to be creative. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to do an interview with us, and I'm glad I was
course.
able to catch some of your side. It was awesome.
Yes,
And
I saw her dancing front row. I was like, I recognize you.